40% of adults under 35 own a home in the United States. That number continues to climb and peaks out at about 80%, including for people 65 and older. And if you look at mortgage rates, the average mortgage balance for somebody 55 to 75 is almost $200,000, and it doesn't go down much with age. 75 plus, the average mortgage balance is $175,000. But the question is it right for you to have a mortgage? Is it right for you to own or buy? So let's go for a walk and talk about it. And I want to start off with the qualitative factors. And, you know, I think really it comes down to what you want. I did a video earlier, it's called my 4 quadrants video, that talks about why I think it definitely makes sense for people under 40 to have a mortgage, and why I think it makes sense for people 50 and older to try to pay down that mortgage. But that really talks about the debt side of the home ownership equation and question. And I want to talk today about some of the qualitative and quantitative factors that go into, you know, financially, does it make more sense to own versus buy? And let me start off with the qualitative stuff first. Towards the end of the video, we're going to jump into the quantitative numbers. I'll go through a framework that you can use to high level decide, does it make sense financially for you to own versus buy? But let's first talk about the qualitative aspects. And I think it really comes down to, what does a good retirement look like for you? What do you want to optimize on? Do you want to optimize on comfort and a sense of security and a sense of community, right? You may have lived in the same place for 20, 30, 40 years. You might have been raised in my family, that's very common. All my cousins, my brothers, my sisters, all live for sure within 5 miles of the house that I was raised, outside of Cleveland, Ohio. So there's this very strong sense of community in my family. I'm kind of the outlier. I like adventure. I like to mix things up. As you can tell from my videos, I like to go different places. So if you tend to be more like me, and there's no right or wrong, I'm not saying you should be like me, not at all. My wife and my kids would tell you I'm a little strange. Hopefully they'd say that in a good way, but I really like the flexibility. I like the adventure. So for me, the right answer is to optimize on that flexibility, at least for now, and to optimize on that sense of adventure. And as you look at your retirement, think about, what's the wow in your retirement without worries? Is the wow for you and the fewer worries the ability to pursue these adventures, or is the wow for you the comfort and the sense of community and lifelong friends? And there's no right answer for everybody, but that, from a qualitative standpoint, that's what I think you really need to look at. Now, before we jump into the numbers, I do have a video. It's called my 4 quadrants video. It should be popping up above here, if not now, in a few seconds. That talks about the quantitative parts of a mortgage and whether that makes sense, which is different than whether you should own a house or not, right? The quantitative aspects on a mortgage and whether you should try to pay it off, that's for people that obviously have made the decision that they want to own a house. And the summary of that 4 quadrants video is, I think for people that are under 40, it makes a lot of sense to probably have a mortgage. There's a lot of benefits of it. You get to leverage your money. You get access to relatively low cost capital, not as low cost as it was maybe 2.5 years ago. But still you get access to that capital, and you can hold on to your money to pursue your dreams or to do other investments. But as you're approaching 50 and above, I think the freedom and the flexibility of when you can retire increases if you don't have a mortgage. So for people over 50, and again, you've got to watch the video, but for people over 50, I think it makes sense for them to be looking at paying down their mortgage, and ultimately, I know it's hard, but trying to be mortgage free sometime in their 50s. It opens the door. Okay, now let's jump into the numbers. Before we get there, I do have a favor to ask. If you're enjoying this video, if you watch my videos, first, give me a thumbs up. It really helps the YouTube algorithm find other people that my videos can help. And if you're a regular watcher, think about subscribing, and finally comment. I love reading your comments. I wish I could respond to all of them. I try to respond to a couple dozen of them every day. So leave me a comment. It's kind of the currency for me of doing a YouTube video. Okay, let's jump into the numbers. And my channel is really about high level. So I'm going to give you a high level framework, and at the end I'm going to show you where you can go to dig deeper. But I think with questions like this, I think it's beneficial to start high level as opposed to jumping into the details and jumping into the numbers. So here's the high level numbers. Basically in most places property taxes are about 1%, but you can put in whatever it is for you. In the town that I live, it's 1%. Actually, for people that their house is a second house, the property tax is double that. It's actually 2% if it's not a primary residence for you. So for me, I'd put in 1% when I'm looking at the cost of owning a house versus renting. Next is maintenance, and there's been multiple studies that have been shown. You can either put in 1% a year to maintain your house, or you can put in more than that over the lifetime of your house. If you don't keep your house up, unfortunately, things are just going to get worse. So most studies say to budget about 1% of the fair market value of your house to keep up the maintenance. Now that's an important thing, the fair market value. So, if you've lived in San Francisco for 20 years and your house is really appreciated, you don't want to put in 1% of what you paid for it. You want to put in 1% of what your fair market value is, frankly, because the cost to maintain your house, to get contractors to come, to get things done, that continues to go up as well. So you've got, in my case, 1% for property taxes, 1% for maintenance. And then what I like to do is I like to look at the cost of capital. So to the extent that you have a mortgage, you want to look at your interest rate. And I try to simplify things. So it's your interest rate less 1 percentage point. And I'm going to link to some videos that will dive deeper into this calculation, but essentially where that comes up, like as I record this, mortgage rates are about 6%. So you take 1 percentage point less than that, which is 5%. And in my case, I'd add 1% for the property tax and 1% for maintenance. So that would be, for me, that would be, what is that? 6 minus 1 is 5, and then I'm adding 2 percentage points. So for me, that would be 7%. So let's say I was looking at a $500,000 house, and I'm running the numbers now. And I have a choice whether I can rent it or I can buy it. And let's say that the rent is $3,000 a month, okay? Well, in my calculation, my mortgage was 6%. I subtract 1 point from that. So now I'm at 5%, and I toss on 2 more percentage points. So I'm at 7%. And I gave myself easy numbers. 7% of 500,000 is 35,000 a month. I'm sorry, that would be expensive cost. 7% of 500,000 would be 35,000 a year. So remember, to rent would be 3,000 a month. So to rent would cost me 36,000. So it's kind of a wash, and none of this is an exact science. So in this type of situation, I would say, what's important to you? Do you want to put down roots? Do you want to have the additional flexibility that renting would give you? The two are basically the same. So what's important to you? What do you want to do? And I would optimize on that, as opposed to, gee, one is $1,000 less than the other, because there is no certainty here. But there is one certainty, and that is, if you enjoyed this video, I know you're going to enjoy this video up here that talks about average income in retirement, and this video down here that talks about 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.